Sick. Moving on. Dwight Howard, a former NBA star, is currently facing allegations of sexual assault, battery, false imprisonment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. These allegations have been brought forward by a man, and the man filed this lawsuit in July, and Howard has denied the allegations, making it clear that his sexual encounters with this man were consensual. And so the internet seems to be really obsessed with the fact that Dwight Howard was having consensual sex with a man, and not so much the fact that this is now his second lawsuit where he's being accused of sexual abuse. So why is everyone so much more interested in the fact that an NBA player might be gay and not the fact that he might be someone who's committed
Because
sexual
it's the
assault?
gay community, and that's what the gay community focuses on. Like, I'm sorry, like everyone, they just sexualize everything. It's
I think it's
Absolutely.
I don't think it's just the gay community, because he's gone on a full press tour. He's been on several black radio
Well,
shows
they also
and black
talked about
blogs.
they also
Homophobia.
talked about a
Has
lady
he-
boy that was a part of this consensual interaction that also that he stated that they both agreed and consented to like what was happening. I saw his interview with the Breakfast Club and I think The View brought it up, where I forgot what term it was used, but I think they try to use it as like a lady boy or like someone that was a cross-dresser or like a trans person or some sort of that kind. Like, I forgot what terminology the Breakfast Club used, but I think that was in a way to state that everything was consensual and that he didn't do anything that was out of the ordinary, that this person is doing something to get clout off of his name. Now, I don't know. The investigation will tell if it was sexual harassment or if it was rape or what it was. But based upon like what I've read and the research that I've seen, like I think that he might be somebody that just might be put into a polarizing situation for someone to get like clout off of him. I mean, I also don't want to say that the victim that's accusing him is wrong, because obviously if someone that's saying that I was sexually harassed, like we should hear them and listen to them. But I think we should wait till like the investigation unfolds.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think like what we're seeing is homophobia. I think that what we are also seeing is people's obsession with queerness. I think like, you know, when you think about somebody like Dwight Howard, who is a basketball player and represents masculinity at its most masculine, it disrupts everyone's thought process. It disrupts everything. I think it satisfies a lot of queer people's fantasies of like this hyper masculine mandingo, big dick nigga, like right here, like, you know, I'm gonna be with him, like he's hot. You know, I think like it satisfies that. And then it also I think puts people into somewhat of like a tailspin. Like if he's this way, then who else is like this? And what does this mean? And how can we stereotype and how can we profile queer people? How can we identify them? And I think like this is a part of the process. It's twofold. It's one where Dwight Howard did not feel safe enough to talk about who he is, right? And then he is in a world where people will actually define him by his sexuality.
Yeah.
And so we have this reinforcing of DL culture and this celebration of DL culture that happens for somebody like him, because he's someone's sexual fantasy and at the same time somebody else's nightmare. And so that's what's so polarizing about it. So for women who are looking at him and thinking to themselves like, oh my God, like what does this mean? That this particular person is like, you know, gay. Like what does that mean for me? What does that mean with the men that I deal with? And I think like we're seeing that being played out in real life. You know, we're having conversations about what does it mean to be bisexual, a bisexual man, what does it mean to be attracted to trans women, and these conversations that people feel like this type of man who likes trans women, as we're talking about the you know, lady boy, whatever kind of language that they're using, is like, is this real? Like, how could it be? So it's very taboo. And even in 2023, it's like taboo. So we're seeing people like talk more about that because they don't really care about the fact that it may have been sexual assault.
Right.
It's more important that nigga's gay.
Right.
And so that's what we're looking at.
But you also need to
100%
think like
agree with
how
that.
many dudes like him act on these types of behaviors,
Yeah,
right?
what is the conversation about DL behavior being a bit
What is the point of
violent?
even talking about him even having any interaction? Like, you know, there's probably so many basketball players that be acting on the
Absolutely.
same
And
shit.
you got to normalize
Yes.
queerness, because when you normalize queerness, you take away the like fear and the stress and the sexuality the part of sexuality that feels like intensely shameful. So like this guy, we don't know the facts. We don't know whether or not whether a smuggler could be fired. Like I tend to believe like people who go through the trouble of like telling a story about their own
I agree.
extreme like maybe stress. But I also like understand we're in a capitalistic society and like people are like going to take opportunities all the time. So who knows what the facts will show.
Right.
But you either really, what we're really talking about is toxicity, right? Like you're talking about being toxic, and it could be the person doing the accusing who's lying, or it's the person who is also just like being accused 2 times of sexual assault or violent behavior, right? Like at the end of the day, like we're still dealing with homophobia, but the homophobia we're dealing with isn't like the reaction, it's the cause. It's the causation. It's
Absolutely.
like the beginning of, like, you can have like freaky deaky sex that's consensual.
Yeah.
Like